This is the best budget starter deck in Flesh and Blood. Hello and welcome to the table, and today I'm back with another Flesh and Blood deck tech video, this time a budget deck tech video for you wanting to get into Flesh and Blood, or maybe you wanting to get a friend of yours into Flesh and Blood with Ira, Scarlet Revenger, a 4 intellect, 40 health ninja hero that simply reads your second attack each turn gets +1 power. It's simple, but man is it powerful. And now with the Ira starter deck, Armory deck, and the upgrades in this video that I will be discussing, it is the de facto best deck to get anybody into the game. Now that Aurora maybe LL'd herself, but well, yeah, we'll get past that. But Ira here is really strong, especially with her weapon that this deck revolves around and all of the equipment that this deck loves to abuse. But to start things off, I got the weapon. Edge of Autumn, a 1-power ninja weapon, sword weapon, that's two-handed, and as a once per turn action, you can spend a resource to attack with, and that attack will have Go Again. One little peck of damage with Go Again for one resource. It's unassuming, but it's a lot more powerful than it looks, especially with some of the equipment. The most powerful of which being the new Elkana Scar Wraps. Maybe, just maybe, the best piece of equipment that has ever come out of an Armory deck. In my opinion, it is. But you'll see. You can judge that for yourself. Because this 2-block arm piece simply reads, as an attack reaction, you can tap it, banish an Edge of Autumn you control, to simply give target ninja attack action card +1 power. Which seems like a hefty price to pay. Get rid of your weapon to give a +1 power buff. Not that big of a deal, it seems. But you can use it multiple times. But why does that matter? It's not like you're gonna be able to get that Edge of Autumn back. Oh wait, yes you can, because whenever an attack you control with Vengeance in its name hits, you may equip an Edge of Autumn from your banished zone. So, how it works is you give a little bit of a buff to one of your things that you really want to have hit, and then, you banish an Edge of Autumn to do that. But if that thing hits and it has Vengeance in its name, you just get to get that Edge of Autumn back. And because this Elkana Scar Wraps does not destroy itself when you use this ability, this attack reaction speed ability, you can use it again, and then again, and then again throughout the rest of the course of the game, permitting you do it right. And when you don't need to use it anymore because you really don't have the ability to, you can block with it for 2 damage. For 2! That's nuts. So, Elkana Scar Wraps, really solid card. But there's other cards too. There are other powerful cards too. Like the Iris of the Blossom. A 2-block blade break again. Blocks for 2 again. But at instant speed, you can tap it, discard a card, and search your deck for Whirling Mist Blossom, banish it, then shuffle, and you may play it this turn. But you can only activate this ability if you've hit this turn. So again, you do not destroy this, so you can repeatedly use this to get multiple Whirling Mist Blossoms throughout the course of the game, which seems pretty solid. But you have to discard a card in order to do it, but don't worry, we'll get to Whirling Mist Blossom and explain why. This is not a bad card by any means. And again, once you don't need to or can't really afford to use its ability anymore, you can block with it for 2. Pretty solid. But then there's also Robe of Autumn's Fall, a 0-block chess piece, but it does have Arcane Barrier 1 to make up for that, which, for a new piece of equipment, pretty sweet start. And whenever an Edge of Autumn you control hits, you may destroy this to then gain a resource, which this deck consists of a lot of 0 costs, a lot of 1 costs, but every now and then you might need a 4th resource in addition to pitching one of the many 21 blues in this deck in order to really pop off and do the things that are just really busted. And Robe of Autumn's Fall here can allow you to, one time, get that resource that you need. But then lastly, I got Breeze Rider Boots. 1-block battle 1 leg piece that says whenever a ninja attack action card you control hits, you may destroy this. And if you do, attack actions cards with combo gain go again this turn. So it's not just giving one thing go again, it's giving everything with combo go again. Which there are a lot more of those in this deck than you would think of, and a lot more of those in this deck that you really want to have go again. Because if you can give them go again and you can go wider with them, you can do some nuts things. But out of all the pieces of equipment, this, in my opinion, is the weakest. But there are still, like, across the board, this deck has a really good equipment suite. And it's really budget-friendly, too. But then getting into the main deck, it's pretty simple. You pitch a blue, you play some stuff. You know, you pitch a blue to attack with the Edge of Autumn. Then you play one of the many 0 costs in this deck, go wide. And then you finish things off with something that costs 2. That's basically the game plan. But to go more into depth, you know, you got the 21 blues, you got the Bittering Thorns, you got the Flying Kicks, you got the Seek Vengeances, the Soul Beat Strikes, the Torrent of Tempos. They all block for 3, they're all blues. You're never really going to use them. You're just going to pitch with them, you're just going to block with them. That's all you're ever going to do with them. But there are some blues that you do want to actually utilize sometimes. Those two being Legacy of Ikaru, a 0 cost ninja attack reaction that says target ninja attack gets +1 power, and when it hits, if Edge of Autumn was the last attack of this combat chain, you get to draw a card. So you replace itself, it replaces itself, and gives a buff, and it's also a blue block 3. All good things. Costs nothing to play, it checks every box. So Legacy of Ikaru, when you need to play it, it can be really, really powerful. And can allow you to ensure that even though it looks like the opponent can ensure that your Edge of Autumn does not come back, you can have it come back with the Okana Scar Wrap. So that can be really valuable too. But then there's also Vengeance Never Rests, a 1 cost 3 attack ninja attack action with combo that says if Edge of Autumn was the last attack of this combat chain, again, Edge of Autumn, really important. This is one of the cards that cares about it. It gets go again, first off, and a non-hit of saying you banish it, and you can play it again this turn. So you can attack with it for 3 once with go again, then you can attack with it again for 3 more damage a second time later on in the turn. So all around, it can be a really good card, because this is a blue that can deal 6 damage, which, in my opinion, is really freaking powerful. Also, it has Vengeance in its name, which, this is a card that can allow you to get back the Edge of Autumn with the Okana Scar Wraps. And it's something that you can buff up to 4 to allow it to be more likely to hit, and then immediately get back that Edge of Autumn that you just banished. So, yeah. Already, Okana Scar Wraps, you can see why it's good. But you pitch one of these blues, sometimes you play one of the blues, but generally you're going to pitch one of the blues to attack with the Edge of Autumn for 1 resource. Then afterwards, you want to play the cards that go wide. But generally, you want to play one of the cards that cares if Edge of Autumn was the last attack of this combat chain. And I already showed you one of them, the first Vengeance card. The next one is Seek Vengeance, a 0 cost 4 attack 3 block that has combo itself, and it reads, if Edge of Autumn was the last attack of this combat chain, it gets go again. So it can be a 0 for 4 go again that also blocks 3 damage, which, in my mind, really freaking powerful. Plus, the art is sick. So that's always a positive in my book. But yeah, Seek Vengeance, really, really powerful card. But there's plenty of other cards that are also really powerful, so let's get into them. Start just going down the line. I got Bittering Thorns, a 1 cost 4 attack with go again that says when this hits, your next attack this turn gets +1 power, and it itself has go again. So you can come in with the Bittering Thorns right off the get-go for 4 damage. And if it hits, your next thing gets +1 power. Then you come in with something that, you know, comes in for, I don't know, 2 damage, like a Whirling Mist Blossom. It gets buffed up to 3 with the Bittering Thorns. And now it's coming in for 3 damage. The opponent can still block with 1 3 block and then prevent the on-hit. But then, because this is the second attack that has come in this turn, Ira gives it another +1 power buff. So all of a sudden, this is going in for 2 damage. Nope, sorry, 3 damage. Nope, sorry, 4 whole damage. Allowing that on hit to be way more likely to hit. So, yeah, pretty solid card, Bittering Thorns. And it's way cheaper now thanks to the reprint of it in the Ira Armory deck. So, yeah, Bittering Thorns, really solid card. If you do not have it in your Ira deck already, get it, put it in right now. But then, continuing down the line, I got Scar for a Scar, a 0 cost 4 attack 2 block, unfortunately, like the Bittering Thorns, but you're always going to be attacking with this pretty much. So, it's a 0 for 4 that, when played, if you have less life than an opposing hero, it gets Go Again. So, it's generally always going to be a 0 for 4 Go Again, because you don't really want to block that often in this deck. And, you know, you're generally, because of that, going to have less life than the opponents. So you can come with a Scar for a Scar for 4 damage with Go Again and just go a little bit wider and ensure that those on hits and those powerful effects that this deck can definitely pull off happen. So yeah, Scar for a Scar, really good card. But then, continuing down the line, I got Soul Beat Strike, a 0 for 4 that, when it hits, gets Go Again. Blocked for 3, 0 for 4, generally Go Again. It's a solid card. Genuinely a solid card. It's better than you would think. But then there's Tornado Tempo. Same thing, but it's a 1 for 5. And in my opinion, the art's just a little bit better. I mean, look at that. It's just, it's sick. It's sick. But then there is a yellow Bittering Thorns. Yes, I got the red and yellow and blue Bittering Thorns. I don't care. They are beautiful and good and powerful, no matter what version of it you're playing. Because Bittering Thorns here, you can come in with the first thing that, like a, I don't know, Edge of Autumn, or something like a Soul Beat Strike, or a Tornado Tempo, or anything you want. Anything you want. Then you come with the Bittering Thorns, and because it's the second attack, it gets buffed up to 4. So then, that on hit is coming in for a breakpoint, and yes, all of a sudden this yellow is a breakpoint again, and is coming in for 4, and you feel like a god. So yeah, Bittering Thorns yellow, it's still very good. It's not as good as the red, but it's still really good, nonetheless. But then, lastly, I got Whirling Mist Blossom, a 1 cost 2 attack with Go Again, Ira specialization that says when this hits, and it's the second or higher chain link in a row to hit, you draw 2 cards. So, remember when I said earlier that it doesn't really matter what the iris of the blossom that you're discarding a card? I mean, yes, it sucks that you have to discard a card, but still, you're discarding a card, you're getting the Whirling Mist Blossom, you're basically not going down any cards in hand. It's not that big of a deal, because you're losing cards, sort of. But you're going to be getting some back because the Whirling Mist Blossom draws you 2 cards if it hits. That is insane. So, what you do is you come in with an Edge of Autumn for 1 little poke of damage. Doesn't really matter. You use the Iris of Blossom. You come in with this. And then, boom, it's coming in for 3 now thanks to the Ira. And then you buff it by 1 again thanks to the Icona Scar Wraps. Then, you come in with something like, I don't know, a Seek Vengeance, or an Enact Vengeance, or any of the cards that have Vengeance in their name. They're going to be likely to hit. Or, you strip cards from the opponent's hand, and then you feel good by playing something like a Legacy of Ikaru, or something like a Razor Reflex, and you just feel insane and wonderful and awesome. But yeah, Whirling Mist Blossom, simply put, it's a big part of the deck, and it does some insane work. It's generally going to be coming in for more than 2 damage, and it's generally going to be able to hit more likely than it looks like it could. But then getting into the next kind of portion of the deck, all the cards are going to be kind of ending the chain with. You're going to be ending off the turn with. Something like a Snatch, for example. A 0 for 4 that when it hits, draws you a card. Doesn't have Go Again. So when this hits, turn's over. You get to draw a card, you arsenal that card, you're setting up for next turn. Great card. But sometimes you can go a little bit wider with something like a Snatch thanks to a Razor Reflex. A card that, for 1 resource, as a generic attack reaction, can give target dagger sword attack +3 power. That can matter sometimes. But more importantly, target attack with a cost of 1 or less gets +3 power, and when it hits, it gets go again. So yes, you can technically give the Snatch go again with something like a Razor Reflex, but generally speaking, the Snatch is going to be something that you're ending off the turn with. In addition, you got a couple of other cards that you're going to be wanting to end things off with that don't have go again. They're still really solid cards, like Sirens of the Safe Harbor. A 2-cost, 6 attack, 2 block. Not great, but when it is put into a graveyard from anywhere, you gain 1 life. So it's effectively a 3 block. It's effectively a 2 for 7 that blocks for 3. Which, that is above rate, ladies and gentlemen. And that makes this card very worth putting in the deck, especially at a budget level. But then, lastly, and most importantly, there's Enact Vengeance. This card is nuts, because Enact Vengeance is a 2-cost, 6 attack, 3 block that says if Edge of Autumn or a card with Vengeance in its name was the last attack this combat chain, it gets a sweet on-hit of destroying all cards in their arsenal. So it's a mini Command and Conquer. That is wonderful, awesome, powerful. There are not enough words on this planet to describe how good this card is. So yeah, Enact Vengeance, really, really solid. And it can be even more solid if you have just this and a blue in your hand and still can put tons of pressure on the opponent in addition to being on the block super well on your turn with cards like Flick Flack, with cards like Sink Blow that are also in the deck. Because yes, this deck, generally speaking, is very aggressive. You're going to be dumping your whole hand, you're not going to be really wanting to block that much, and you're just going to send attack after attack after attack, and then end things off with a massive thing. It just really feels awesome to end with, like a Sirens of Safe Harbor, like an Enact Vengeance, or something that sets up for next turn like a Snatch. But if you need to block, the deck can still block too, because Flick Flack is in here. It blocks for 4 at D react speed, and it gives the next card you defend with this turn that has combo +2 defense. So Enact Vengeance blocks for 5. Something like Seek Vengeance blocks for 5. Something like, I don't know, Vengeance Never Rests blocks for 5. That is really good for you. Flick Flack, really, really good for you. Or you can just Sink Below. If you have too many blues in your hand, you have too much stuff in your hand that just doesn't work. You have nothing but reds, you don't have a blue. You can Sink Below, block for 4. That's great for you at D-React speed. Again, you can take one of those cards, ship it to the bottom of your deck, and then if you do, you draw a card. So Sink Below, also really good, both defensively and can allow you to kind of get what you need in order to still have pressure and put pressure on the opponent on your next turn. So Sink Below and Flick Flack, even though their deck is aggressive, if you need some defensive tools, Flick Flack, Sink Below are in there too. But that is the main deck. Then getting into the sideboard, it's a pretty simple sideboard. Blanche, if you need to shut off colors of your opponents, Blanche can shut off the colors of the opponent's stuff until the end of their next turn. Cut down the size if you're playing against a deck that you really want to strip more cards from their hand in order to get the most value possible out of your stuff and get them to where they can get the least value possible out of their stuff. Cut down the size is there for you, forcing them to either block cards from their hand or just take the damage and still have to go down cards in hand. All around, always going to be solid for you if you need it. Fade Foreseen, if you need more block value, it can block for 4 at D-React speed and Opt you 1. It can be good. If you need it, and it's there for you. Humble, most importantly, if you need to shut off a super powerful effect of an opposing hero you're going up against, something that really hoses you or your game plan, or can just pace you just like aggressively or tempo-wise or whatever, Humble is there for you, being a really good way to just 2 damage, or for 2 resources, 6 damage. When it hits, it just turns off all the abilities of their heroes and cards. So yeah, it's just Humble, really good card. Also, something else that's really good about this deck is you can Edge of Autumn into something like an Enact Vengeance for 7 thanks to Ira, or with one of these 2 costs, a Blanche for 8, a Cut Down to Size for 7, a Humble for 7. That's also pretty good. Something I just want to point out. But Then, in addition, if you need it, I got Arcane Barrier in the Null Rune Hood and the Tide Flippers to give you up to Arcane Barrier 3 with the already Arcane Barrier robes, or Robe of Autumn's Fall. But then lastly, if you need Snapdragon Scalers, that's also in the deck for you. Niche, like you're generally not going to need Snapdragon Scalers because of just... If you need Snapdragon Scalers in a matchup, Snapdragon Scalers is there for you too. But this is the deck. It can get better. It can be more powerful, and it can still be fairly budget friendly. So if you want to put in a little bit more money, you want to get in a couple more powerful cards, I do have a slightly more expensive list for you. So let's talk about that super quick. And here is that list. It is basically the exact same, except there is basically two differences. There's Ancestral Empowerment, which is a really good card. For 0 resources, it gives target ninja attack action +1 power, and it replaces itself because you draw a card off of it. And it blocks for 3, all around. Really solid card. It's a good way. It's a good card in my opinion. That's better than the Razor Reflex. It's a good replacement for Razor Reflex. And it's just all around a really good card. It costs a lot of money for a full playset. It's like $50, so that's not great, but it's still a solid card. But then there's also Prismatic Leyline, a 0 cost, it's a yellow, a 0 cost yellow that blocks for 3 and says your next red attack gets +1 power. That's decent. Your next yellow attack gets +2 power, and your next blue attack gets +3 power. So there are yellows and reds, obviously, and blues spread out across the entire deck. So this allows you to basically get 6 damage for 0 resources in a yellow that blocks for 3. That can be really solid for you. Prismatic Leyline, really, really solid card if you need it or if you want to play it. It also, for a playset, costs $50-ish, which that isn't great, but Prismatic Leyline, Ancestral Empowerment, if you want to upgrade the deck further, those are the first 2 cards that I would upgrade the deck with. Beyond that, the list is the exact same as the $50 version, technically less than $50, but still. That's it. Hope that you enjoyed this video. Hope that you wanting to get into Flesh and Blood or you wanting to get a friend of yours into Flesh and Blood now have an idea of the list to go after in order to do that. So for all that aside, again, hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It's completely free, no regrets. And have a great rest of your day, everybody. And enjoy Flesh and Blood and all the Flesh and Blood videos coming soon.